One of the most important aspects of stakeholder and community engagement is listening to others. While you might think that that's something that's easy to accomplish, we have to listen to others when we're talking about stakeholder and community engagement in a non-judgmental way. This can be difficult, and this session is going to help give you a few pointers on how to better listen so you have better community and stakeholder engagement. Public health nursing is similar to other areas of nursing when it comes to valuing the ability to deliver nursing care in a non-judgmental and accepting manner. A public health nurse is often a guest, invited into a client's space or a community gathering, which provides endless opportunities for a nurse's acceptance of others to be tested or challenged. It is really important to recognize that some people or population, due to past experiences, have a heightened level of stigma consciousness, which is the perception or awareness of being stigmatized, and expect to be judged, which can be present and a big challenge for nurses. Similarly, nurses might also have past experiences that have contributed to their development of biases or prejudices that need to be addressed in order to provide non-judgmental or unconditional care. A nurse can be non-judgmental, yet at the same time disagree with something that is observed or said. The distinction can be subtle, but it is really important. A nurse should be able to discern whether a behavior is healthy or harmful, yet should also be able to make these assessments in a manner that is non-judgmental. Here's an example. It is important to note that there are instances when a nurse must act on a duty to report apparent abuse that might be acceptable in that personal or cultural context by an individual or family, but violates the law in the United States. These are difficult situations, and an effective nurse will carefully intervene, realizing at the time that the interventions might not appear to be non-judgmental. Diversity is reflected in a number of ways, so I want you to just be cognizant of all these different ways that you may run into diversity, and that you should make sure that you're acting in a non-judgmental way. This includes culture, ethnicity, lifestyle preferences, gender roles, family styles, religion, spiritual beliefs, socioeconomic position, age, race, physical appearances, sexual orientation, education level, neighborhood, geographic region, language use, immigration status, health status, beliefs, and values. Effective listening is a combination of both verbal and nonverbal responses to the person with whom you are talking. Another concept that is growing in popularity is what is known as deep listening, which it's the process of listening to learn. When you listen deeply, you do not generate what your response is going to be, what is being said or relayed nonverbally. Instead, deep listening is reflective listening, in which you listen to learn. You listen for understanding rather than agreement, and you ask powerful questions. Listening in an unbiased manner takes effective listening to a higher level, because it requires you not only to listen in a way that helps people who are talking believe that they're being heard, but also to listen in a manner that expresses acceptance for those people. As with most communication attributes, verbal and nonverbal listening cues can vary by individual, developmental age, culture, and other factors. Therefore, you need to know the clients who you're working with and understand what conveys listening and support to them. And don't presume to know. Some nonverbal cues are eye contact. This can be too little or too much, depending on the culture. Facial expressions, smile, stare, frown, grimace, gestures. Intensity, the amount of energy that you show a person. Movements and posture, leaning towards somebody indicates interest. Space, closeness and proximity to the other person. Touch, a hand on the shoulder or a hug. And even attire, balance and awareness to avoid being underdressed or overdressed, and that it is not culturally offensive. Verbal cues include supportive sounds like uh-huh and ah. Timing and pace. Responding quickly might indicate active listening rather than distraction, but too quickly might indicate lack of listening and readiness with your preconceived point. Voice tone, which is calming with lower and softer tones, and silence that can facilitate or hinder conversations. You need to prepare for any interactions with clients or your community so that your nonverbal actions are consistent with their culture. You have to learn about your clients' beliefs and value systems, as well as their preferred learning style, through open-ended questions that will support your knowledge and appropriate interactions. An example is some cultures it's not appropriate to pat a child on the head, and in others it's not acceptable to look them in the eye. It's important that differences often exist within a culture group as well. So awareness of a nonverbal behavior that is acceptable or not to some people in a culture might not be universal to everybody in that group. Respecting others is key to public health nursing and improving the health of your community. It can be difficult to respect others' points of view when they don't naturally align with your own. However, respect is critical to being non-judgmental as a nurse. The key is demonstrating respect for another point of view regardless if you agree or not. One way that you can show respect is through offering relevant information in an unassuming manner and choosing to respect the client's autonomy for maintaining a different perspective. This respect can be particularly difficult when you perceive a client, family, or community as unhealthy, but it is very important that you treat everybody with respect. Public health nurses are often in situations that require advocacy for families or communities, and each family or community member might have a different perspective or opinion. Effective public health nurses can assess the situation and intervene to make sure that everybody is able to express their opinion and not be judged. An example is a public health nurse that visits a family that has a family member in hospice. Not everybody might agree with the care that that individual is getting. However, a public health nurse can assist family members in being able to express their perspectives, and ultimately, this will help everybody come together and make a decision and be in agreement. Public health nurses must consider multiple factors when they provide care for individuals, families, and communities. Non-judgmental public health nurses carefully consider the particular client being served or the community being served when they are planning to implement an intervention or health program to improve health outcomes in their community. Sociocultural expectations can influence the success of public health nursing interventions if public health nurses are not proactive and do not think about all these factors before implementing an intervention. Effective public health nurses assess the extent to which the cultural patterns exist within a community and act in accordance within socio-cultural norms to gain entry and intervene. Additionally, public health nurses, including those who serve as faith community nurses, have to carefully consider the religious or spiritual implications of any intervention that they're wanting to implement for their community. Ultimately, your success as a public health nurse will depend on your ability to establish meaningful relationships with individuals, families, and communities that you're serving. You can't establish the relationship unless you can interact with diverse people in a non-judgmental and accepting way. You're going to find it easier to be non-judgmental towards some people more than others, and you should engage in learning activities or reflective exercises to help yourself recognize and address preconceived stereotypes you might have about certain groups of people. Your worldview provides, in essence, a cultural filter for how you view and interact with others. Over time and with experience, you can learn more about yourself, including your reactions to those who might be different than you. You might find that you are very accepting towards certain people and communities, whereas with others, you struggle to be accepting. Becoming non judgmental is a process that takes a long time and is constantly evolving as you encounter new situations that will challenge what you believe or feel about the world and those around you. Practically, you can begin to implement behaviors helpful in your development toward being a non judgmental public health nurse. You need to understand specific personal beliefs and values. Be respectful to everyone. Interact in a sensitive, responsive manner rather than being overbearing and assuming. And develop effective verbal and nonverbal communication skills. This might just mean being aware of the nonverbal communication cues that you're giving off to others. You can practice these behaviors in a variety of settings and begin to learn about the environment, situation, or moods that make being accepting more difficult for you. Most important is your willingness to learn, your reflections on personal behavior and thinking, and your attempts at new skills to enhance your acceptance of others. You can explore ways in which you can develop cultural humility as well. Cultural humility is a concept that has gained popularity as discourse has matured beyond discussion of cultural competence skills and whether it is possible to achieve these skills and turned instead toward self-reflection and attention toward personal bias that then can inform appreciative, respectful openness informed by desire for equity. Cultural humility has been defined as humility that incorporates a lifelong commitment to self-evaluation and self-critique, to redressing the power imbalances, and to developing mutually beneficial and non-paternalistic clinical and advocacy partnership with communities on behalf of individuals and defined populations. Public health nurses can play a significant role in developing cultural humility and promoting cultural humility within their organizations and with stakeholder partners. Empathy is an important attribute that can contribute to a public health nurse's ability to practice in a non-judgmental manner. In essence, empathy is the ability to accurately perceive emotions and feelings and thoughts of others. Often people can express empathy more easily when they have experienced something similar to what is causing another person's current feelings, thoughts, or emotions. Similarly, the concept of mutuality, or the ability to get into someone else's shoes, is very valuable. This sense of mutuality encourages empathy because the nurse purposefully works to understand as closely as possible what the client is experiencing. It is a skill that can be developed as you regularly take time to reflect on what you would be feeling or thinking if you had just experienced what the other person has had happen. Challenge yourself to try this exercise and learn more about cultural humility in work and in personal settings, and reflect on your ability to connect with, respond to, and support others with greater levels of mutuality and empathy. And these are the references for this session.